this is Matt from InvestiQuant. Today is Monday, October 12th, 2020, and Friday finished the week strong. After multiple pushes higher throughout the week, we closed right at the highs of the week on Friday, and in the overnight session, we are continuing higher. So last week's strong close ended up closing above the upper Bollinger Band, which is an overbought reading that can be tested within the platform. And what I want to do this morning is test what has happened historically when you trigger that overbought reading where you're closing above an upper Bollinger Band. So let's do that. I'm going to go and discover and select all four instruments. The setup is going to be based upon getting long at the open of regular trading hours, which is 9:30 a.m. Eastern Time, and then exit at the close, which is 4:15 p.m. Eastern Time. The overnight session has been strong. We are at the highs at the time of this recording, or very close to them, and we are well above Friday's highs. So I'm going to come into opening filters and go with open above the prior day high. And then I'm going to go into the indicator section, and we're going to use two indicators today. We're going to say that the prior day closed above the upper Bollinger Band, so I can just select that from the active today section, and then I can scroll down and say that it also closed above a 200-day moving average, so that we're getting this potential overbought reading in a bullish environment. And then I'm going to click View Results. And here we go. So these are the results of going long at the open, 9:30 a.m. Eastern Time, exiting at the close, 4:15 p.m. Eastern Time, when you open above the prior day high and the prior day closed above the upper Bollinger Band and above a 200-day moving average. Now, historically, we've got 57 samples in the S&P, 66 in the NASDAQ, 71 in the Dow, and 52 in the Russell. And if we look at the win rates on these, the S&P just slightly weak. It's really not all that weak if you're considering this an overbought reading, just at 46%. The NASDAQ's actually favored, so this overbought reading followed by an opening above the prior day high is actually had a little bit higher probability of closing above the open, so another potential up day. Of course, this is a very mild reading, but it's not below 50-50 is what's standing out to me there. The Dow just slightly below 50-50 at 46%, and the Russell the weakest at 44%. But none of those win rates are weak for a reading that would be considered an overbought reading. They are just mild, either a little bit above or a little bit below 50%. And if we look at the average win to average loss, the average loss is a little bit bigger here in the S&P than the average win. That is also true in the NASDAQ. When you look at the Dow, that is not the case. The average win is a little bit bigger. And in the Russell, the average loss is a little bit bigger than the average win. So 3 of the 4 have average losses that are larger than the average wins. And the win rates on them are all pretty mild, none of them showing strong win rates in either direction. Now let's take a look at the results distribution. I've got the S&P selected. For this results distribution, the way it works is the taller the bar, the more samples that have happened for that result. And the results are laid out on the bottom based upon trading one contract of the ES. We've got 0 right here, dead center. To the left of that would be losing trades, so those are the red bars. And the farther to the left, the larger the losing day has been. On the right, you've got positive day. These are green bars, and the farther to the right, the larger the positive day has been in this example. So when we look at this, you can see we do have a fairly similar grouping here around 0. The majority of the trades falling within the standard deviation area, which is the blue highlighted area. And most of the days are falling within there. If you look towards the edges, you do see a little bit taller red bars on the extreme side, whereas on the extreme downside, whereas on the extreme upside, there's only a couple green bars that are larger wins, and there's nothing on the extreme edge of that. So there has been some larger moves to the downside, but not a significant amount more. Just a few samples here versus 0 samples in a handful of the options for the positive side. So it really hasn't been a super strong overbought reading historically. Oh, and before I sign off, for those of you who are trading the IQ alerts this morning, it does look like we will have a signal that will be triggering at the open. And I just wanted to mention, this has one of those setups where if this pattern doesn't play out fairly early It's often one that you may want to tighten your stops on or try to scratch out of, instead of just letting it play out the entire session and potentially taking a full size loss when it may not be necessary. So if you are trading that, I would encourage you to kind of pay attention to what happens in the first hour. If we're not starting to work our way back towards the target early on, then it may be one that you want to cut early. And if you want to join me in the room, if you're not doing that already, we'll be looking at how the day is developing early on to see if that's something we want to do or not. I would encourage you, if you're able, join me. So good luck today, guys, and we will see you next time.